Well, Janelle, welcome to the pod and the channel, and to have a fellow page on means a lot to me. And this might even be this is season 2, episode probably 2. So people are gonna be coming in hot with high expectations. Welcome.
Thanks, guys. Go Pages. Let's do this.
Go Pages. Awesome. So you did mention something off recording that totally got me stoked, and I want to just jump right into it because I don't hear a lot of stuff that is the key, almost massive problem that I see, and you just said it in like 8 words, and that was the problem with Amazon sellers is they're just putting products up based on keyword research and not building a brand. Let's jump into that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, no, I get asked to speak at Amazon seller conferences, and I know why. It's because I've done hundreds of millions of dollars of sales on Amazon, and I've built and sold some companies, and Amazon was part of our strategy, but I'm not an Amazon seller. I would not ever refer to myself as that's my identity. Amazon to me is a sales channel. When I think about distribution, I think of a wheel, and there's spokes in the wheels, and those sales channels could be Amazon, Walmart, retail, affiliates, wholesale, whatever you want to call it. So I never really resonate with this idea like, oh, I'm going to go out there and look for a keyword that has, there's an opening that can create a product around and launch it and make buku bucks on Amazon. I just am like, no, I'm not going to compete with the Chinese, or it's so easy for the manufacturers now to sell on Amazon, and you think you're going to be able to have better margins than them? Right. Like, what are you smoking? And I consult now for some of the largest aggregators and brands, and even small brands, just startups too. And many of these people don't even know if they're profitable. Yeah, they're selling like millions of dollars on Amazon. And I'm like, well, look at your P&L or your EBITDA. Are you even making a profit? And they're like, well, gee, I don't know. I'm just like, wow, it's crazy.
Like, don't ask me the hard questions, Janelle. I just want to sell more stuff.
But look at my BSR. Look at my BSR.
Right. I'm like, do you like working for free? Do you like just shoveling trenches for no good reason? Like, I just don't, and I don't understand that. But when you look at society as a whole, I mean, it's very indicative. We have a malaise, and people are sick. They can't even balance their own checkbook. Why do we think they can run a business, right? Mm-hmm. If you hear the financial gurus talking, yeah, most people are leveraged in debt. They can't even run their household. And so I've really seen that they tend to run their business quite the same.
And what does it mean to actually build a brand? Let's dive into that.
Yeah. Well, when I build brand, I think of the person, and I start with that. It's like, who am I going to serve? And this isn't like Janelle's original thought. It's like, if you listen to all the good brand experts and marketers, some of my early mentors like Seth Godin, they've been saying this for ages. So you think of who you want to serve, what you're making it for. Sometimes it even starts with scratching your own itch, because if there's there's others, and you're finding them, and then you launch products based on what that avatar or person would want. For instance, I'm working on a new brand right now with, I like to launch products now with celebrities and influencers, because you get to hack like the system. They have the audience, they have influence. You create a product that's perfect for their audience. I mean, you already know what they want. They're telling you in the comments, they're following you for a reason. You have trust.
And they did what, 4 years of surveying, if you think about it, before going to market?
So, yeah, we just have all of this information. I mean, you can just mine, how we like read the reviews on Amazon to get ideas on how to make the product better. Well, their comments in their YouTube videos, or on their Instagram are just full of beautiful information on what would be perfect for these people. They're basically like asking you to make something for them. So that part's super easy. And when you make that for them and you can tell the story of why you made it, it's like a slam dunk. And everyone's like, how do you do so many $1 million launches? I'm like, well, I kind of cheat the system. I find someone that already has an audience, because I did my first Amazon brand. I did the traditional, I was in ASM 2, I think it was, or Amazing Selling Machine 2, like back in 2014, 2015. And those were the days of Amazon. Like, if we talk about like Gravy Train, that was it.
You buy any trinket on Alibaba, pop it up there, and you're like, I'm selling 50 a day, and my ACOS is 21. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah, it makes it a little more difficult today to be happy with your when you look at your balance sheet. You're like, oh wow, that CPC is really high, and man, my profit margin is not like what it used to be. But it's still a great business model. It's still wonderful. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's like, I had to rely on using Amazon that way, so I understand how most people are approaching Amazon, because that's how I did it first. But at least, even though I went into a market, I didn't ever go into a market thinking, what keyword research. I never even started with keyword research. It was always like, I played the drums. My first brand was like, I want to bring in drums, because I wanted a cool set of drums. So there was a problem. I wanted a less expensive set, and I knew that I could probably source it in China and get a really nice drum set. Instead of thousands of dollars, I probably get one for $400 to $500. And then I was like, man, I could make a killing if I made a brand around this and started bringing in really nice drums and then selling drums. So that's what I was working on. And I had a business partner, and he was like, we ran a marketing agency, and traditionally we were doing doctors, lawyers, and dentists. So I have a really strong marketing background. It was Kickfire marketing. And I, on the side, was dabbling in this ASM and like, this is so fun. I'm going to build this like Amazon empire. And I mentioned it to him one day in one of our meetings. He was my COO, and he was like, man, we should do toys. I would do that with you, but we should do toys. And I was like, toys? He's like, yeah. He's like, I used to be the manager of a toy store, and I've always just wanted to have a toy store again. And I thought he was kidding, but he was dead serious. And I think we'd worked with each other for like years. And here I'm finding out like he has this secret passion. And then he juggles. He knows how to use Diablos and like yo-yos. He's this crazy, insane talent, magic. And I was like, because I had at this point been looking into shipping drum sets. And I was like, toys could be a lot more profitable. So
a little bit.
Instead of me having to be the face of the brand, like playing the drums and teaching, I had the whole business model kind of figured out how I would do it. It's pretty much what Drumeo does now. If anyone's into drums, they'll totally know what I'm talking about.
I'm actually a drummer, so this is really weird.
No way.
Yeah, we're both last name Page.
And we drum.
Oh, come on. For all I know, you're my next door neighbor, and you never told me. So
I know, right?
Yeah,
Or
do you live in Florida?
if we do our genealogy, we find out like we had the same father. Just
I know. Luke, I am your cousin, right?
Yeah. No, that's so cool. Well, so I just, I thought, okay, well, toys, like this still works, because if Tyler knows how to juggle, like we could create this character that teaches kids how to juggle. So we're not just selling, juggling balls. We're teaching kids how to juggle like 5 balls in 5 minutes, so in my mind, marketing's always kind of been my thing. So I was like, I can see how we can crush with this, and then we'd have like the Diablos, like this Chinese yo-yo that's really hard to learn, but super cool when you can get it down. And I was like, we can create Ty the Diablo guy that teaches tutorials. And then we can have like a library that we drive people back. Cause I was always like, I got to get people's information on Amazon. I want to own my customer. So I was thinking about the insert strategy, how to drive them to our website, how to get them to purchase the online video tutorials. Like I want to monetize this in as many ways as possible. And then too, I was like, no, we don't market to kids. We market to the moms and the grandparents, because 2014, 2015 is like that whole era where everyone thought like you got to get your kids outside and play. We didn't have esports teams, and there wasn't ways to make $1 million being a kid that sits in your basement playing video games. Like everyone was worried their brains were going to turn to mush, right? So that was the story we went with. Like we went after grandmas, we went after moms, and we created Kickfire Classics, and they were good old fashioned fun. Get your kids outdoors, off the screen time, and it just resonated. We knew our avatar. We were launching product after product, from kites, and so it was never like, let's go on Amazon and see like what keywords ranking. It's like I got the corner on the market of moms and grandmas who are worried about their kids' heads turning to mush because they're on the iPad all day. I just got to keep making cool, fun products for them to buy their kids every Hanukkah, Christmas, birthday party, baptism, whatever event. There's always a holiday. They're going to get them another classic toy. We had rubber band guns. We made our own Rubik's Cube, and then had a lot of IP infringement lawsuits too, because I didn't know what I was doing. Just know that's trademarked and you'll get busted. We did sell quite a few. But just like little tricks we would do, like, the cube. I always wanted to know how to do the cube. And so I was like, if we make the cube, let's make the solver's guide. Because you know how many people will buy the solver's guide because we want to know how to do a cube in 3 minutes or less? Because we spent our whole lives just removing the stickers in our bedroom and sticking them back on because we couldn't get those last few, pieces to line up. So just thinking in that way, I've been rambling.
So you're really like, you're just taking a different viewpoint on like, where's demand or what is demand? Like to your point, like a lot of sellers a lot of Amazon, very focused Amazon sellers, like true private labelers, will look at the keyword depth, right? And try to understand the market demand and like how difficult will it be to go after certain markets. And yours is start with the human, right? Start with breadth of need, whatever that may be, which is like kind of what you're talking about with Kickfire Classics.
Yeah. And I guess it's, as I hear you talk, I'm like, gosh, maybe I shouldn't be so harsh on that other strategy. It's not what I wanted to do. Like, it's like day trading versus like, I'm going to be like Warren Buffett and invest in like,
no, I'm kind of on the same side as you are. Cause it's like, look, building a brand is building a catalog. It's not building a product. Yeah. And the keyword strategy that you're talking about is building a product. Right. And it's a necessary step. Like we're not saying that you don't do it, that you don't go look at that. That's not what any of us are saying. But that's not what you lead with necessarily when you want to commit to or invest in or dream about like building out your catalog or your brand. Exactly. So, yeah.
You're going to just get a hodgepodge of like a dude that's like sitting on a street corner hawking their wares, like open up their coat. Like I got spatulas and I've got, dishcloths over here. At least those are kitchen related. But
here's you need watches? You need watches?
Like, got you covered, man. And you're like, yeah, and like that's the Dollar General store. That's not me, I literally love to, like you just said, like when I know who I'm building it for, when I go to list them on Amazon, we do all the keyword research so we know what to put in the title and how to optimize the images. We use all those best practices and strategies on every platform has a tactics and strategies that you want to use so that you dominate it. Yeah, we're going to do all that. But that's not what I even think about when I'm thinking about I am birthing a brand. It's just like birthing a baby. It's like, what am I going to name the child? I'm not thinking about, I guess the outfits just yet. I'm actually thinking about this child that's going to come into my home and I'm going to raise and be this loving parent, the fundamentals of like getting this right.
Yeah, I like this. I mean, you're going really deep on it too. Cause like the conversation I've had, like we're part of the inner circle with Brandon Young's group, right? In the BDSS, that you're in the BDSS group, is start thinking about your products, but like think about the life cycle of your buyer. Or like for instance, a real simple example is like a mother with children. When you first have a child, they go from 1 year old to 2 to 3 to 4. If you're going to build a toy brand, build out toys for 1 to 3 year olds, 3 to 5, 5 and up. Yeah. And then you're going to be part of this life cycle of, LTV, a true, like really long-term, like kind of commitment. But what I'm hearing you talk about, you're kind of going next level. It's really diving into, what is this persona's like behavior, mindset, habits, dislikes, likes, and really trying to understand that better to build out something that's more thoughtful.
Yeah. Like now, go ahead.
I'm seeing enthusiasm. That's what I'm seeing, Janelle. Like, you're like Willy Wonka over here. Like you literally are like obsessed with what's the experience, what's going to be fun, what would kids like. You're not thinking of your margin. You're not thinking of that comes second. You're not thinking of, is this search volume really good or is it, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm just seeing enthusiasm, and that's something I don't see a lot with sellers. Actually, most sellers I talk to have a hunted look on their face. They don't look enthusiastic.
Yeah, like that spreadsheet, like I understand we've got to have that later, but that's not how I start the brand. It's like that gets worked in after you've decided what you're doing. We go make sure we decide what the price is going to be when we know what our COGS are going to be, and we know our LOH, like our labor and overhead, and we can then build that in. But I'm like, I'm looking for a 4X, maybe based on my COGS and LOH. I don't know if people know what that is. Like when you're in corporate world and you're dealing with like boards and P&Ls and EBITDA, you have all these like terms that I throw out, and you're probably like, what is she even talking about? When I first joined corporate world, I didn't know what they were talking about either, but you learn pretty quick. So that's never even my thought process. Like the other day I was working on a new formulation for a supplement company. I've done a lot in supplements over the years, and I'm helping them out and doing some consulting. And they were like, what do you want your target price to be? And I was like, I don't care. Like I want the best supplement for an artistic athlete. Like this is who I'm creating it for. It has to work, it has to be efficacious, and it has to taste super good. And that's all I care about. If it ends up costing me $400, it will cost $400. If it costs $40, it will cost $40. But don't even talk to me about price, and go out there and make that best product, because if it's the best product, that product will sell. And then the prices are relevant.
Wow.
Like who I'm going after, anytime I'm building a brand, is I'm building it for, I know exactly who it's for and what they're willing to tolerate. When I build something, I'm not building it to be the low-cost leader. That's not a brand. I mean, that's Walmart's brand, low-cost leader. They can have that. But that's not, I'm building something that someone will be sad that it doesn't exist one day once they've used it. And they'll be willing to pay me or trade, whatever they can to get their hands on it. If they don't miss my product when it's no longer available, I don't have a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, I'm guilty of this. I'm actually guilty of it. And of course the dogs are in agreement with me, because with customers, with clients, they'll come to me and they'll say, I want to sell this magnesium glycinate, and I'm getting it for $7, and I'm going, this guy's selling it for $9. Don't do it. But I forget, what if they come up with the best magnesium glycinate on the market?
Or the best story, or the best use case, like, and how are you going to compete right now? That's what I tell people in supplements. You think you're going to compete with Andrew Huberman and Tim Ferriss and Chris Williamson, who've all momentous? Like, good luck if your story is just like, hey, I've got another L-theanine. I'm sorry, like, they have so much reach, they have so much, like, I just don't even, like, why would you think they're such Me Too products? Now, if you are a jujitsu like king and you own, I mean, let's say you're Hoist Gracie. I did meet with a bunch of MMA and Hoist Gracie, and we were working on some supplements for the UFC. And it was like, this is an angle, you know, who am I competing with in this category where I can come in and say, I made this for you. Buy UFC Pro for UFC pros. Boom. You know, because like right now it's like, oh, people, I guess I always kind of tell my first experience doing this was like in 2012. I started working for a company that was selling supplements, and they did post-workout recovery, a pre-workout, and they had more muscle, you know, like hydrolyzed whey protein and casein and all this stuff. And they were one weekend at the Arnold, like marketing the product to bodybuilders, you know, and then the next weekend they'd be at like a surf competition, and it was just like all over the place. And it was like, oh, that sure, buy our protein, buy our stuff. But I was like, man, there was this new sport that was coming up, and it was like in Cucamonga, California, and they were doing these insane hard workouts at a ranch, and it was called CrossFit, right? And it was like starting to like blow up, you know, kind of like pickleball right now. Like if I had the time and wasn't already involved in so many other fascinating projects right now, I'd be launching a pickleball supplement, just because I love supplements and I love.
Okay, you heard that here. You heard that here, people.
Yeah, it's the fastest growing sport, right now. Yeah. So we got it at the tidal wave moment, and I was like, we are going all in on CrossFit. And we now know when we make that decision, it makes everything so crystal clear. And this is the power of a brand. I knew exactly where I needed to be, what events I was at. No more going to the Arnold, no more next weekend at a bikini competition or the surfing event. I was at every single CrossFit event with a booth, and that was my avatar. And then that gave my language to the brand. I don't talk about doing a workout. I talk about doing a WOD, because CrossFitters don't work out. They do workouts of the day, and it's called a WOD. And you don't go to the gym, you go to the box, you know, that's what they're called, a box. And so now a CrossFitter, you say, this is made by CrossFitters for CrossFitters, and you lock down every single CrossFit athlete that's like the bomb, you know, because you're coming in up and coming sport, and you're locking down all these guys that nobody's paying attention to, and they're just happy to be with you because you're giving them free product because no one else cares about them. Besides Reebok, who's locked down the market, and you know Reebok was so lame at the time. They're kind of making okay, but they're still kind of lame if you compare them to like Nike and you know.
Totally Adidas or whatever. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, when you put your brand into Walmart, you kill yourself. Like if you're trying to be a cool apparel and sport brand, right? So I'm also cognizant of those things with brand building too, is there's certain things, don't prostitute yourself out. Like so many brands will try to take an easy buck and they'll denigrate their brand in the long run. And that's another story for another day, but I want to insert here, remind me where I was going, but I was just working with another brand this week, and they were like, hey man, like we got a retail opportunity, because they're Amazon sellers. They're like, we can sell our product into TJ Maxx. And like, they just wanted at like a little bit of a discount. I'm like, are you effing kidding me? That is a hard no. And they looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, that is like, you would be prostituting your brand. You'd be putting yourself in discount. That's like what happens when somebody decides to go Groupon. It's a signal to everyone that their company is dying. Hey, no one will buy it at this price, so we're going to discount everything. It's just like the Titanic. You're chucking, you know, things off, trying to stay afloat. Don't do it. Retail just to go retail is not a win. Okay. So tangential there.
Yeah. We're bringing you back to CrossFit. Yeah.
So we went all in on CrossFit. I knew what magazines I was going to put ads in. I knew where to go get wholesale or affiliate accounts. I went to every box and gym owner and said, you know, you want to make more money? carry my protein. And I was willing to be flexible. You know, usually you'll charge them to bring in, they'll have to buy it at wholesale and hold that. And I was like, well, what if we made it easy for them to get our product? What if I said it could be on consignment? Because, you know, gym owners notoriously, and especially, you know, CrossFit at the time, they're just getting started. It's really hard to make your margin. It's really hard to make money. You got to fill the gym, you know, you have overhead, you have to pay coaches and stuff. So why not give them this alternate income stream, additional income stream, teach them how to make more money, help them make apparel. We're already got apparel deals. You know what I mean? We have all of these systems built out on the back end. So it was such an easy, we come in and add so much value. Hey man, I'll hook you up with my guys who do our merch. They can make you apparel, almost like teaching them how to run their business. We had our protein in every little box that we could, you know, just because we were the value add partners. We weren't just saying like, here, push our protein. We were giving them business skills and helping them make more money. So it really was awesome. And it was a great way to grow that brand. And sure, we listed our product on Amazon and did really well there too, but Amazon wasn't, you know, anything more than another sales channel.
And so those two things that I'm taking away: one, finding, building a brand or something that you have some enthusiasm for, like you with the drums, your partner with toys. And two, finding who your audience is. What kind of comes first? What's the first thing you need to do? Do you need to find something you're enthusiastic about? One, and then, okay, who would want this? Who's my person?
Yeah, that's a really good question for me, because now I work with anyone and everyone who, you know, is cool. I don't work with jerks, but you know, like if they're fun and they got an exciting project, I'm like, yeah, I'm in, let's do it. Like one of my business partners, he's a woodworker. I don't know anything about woodworking, you know, making epoxy river tables and like cool stuff. You know, if you go to John Malecki, he's got a great YouTube channel. He makes all kinds of cool custom builds. He even made like a epoxy electric guitar for Jocko Willink out of his jiu-jitsu belts, because he knew how much he loved those. So he can do anything. He's just really a maker is what I'll call him, right? Yeah. And I'm like, we just launched his shop shades, like personal protective eyewear. You know, it's so ugly. Most people that work in a shop, you know, that manly man don't want to put on these like dorky glasses. They fog up, they scratch when you drop them. So we are like, let's make the Oakley, let's take like that Oakley look and create a totally kick-ass personal protective eyewear. So if you just type in shop shades John Malecki, or if you put the link, you could go see how sexy these turned out. And we did a pre-launch. We didn't even like, it was like, let's make these for our woodworkers. And it was even more like John wanted them for himself. He's like, I never wear my protective eyewear. I can't get the guys in my shop to wear them. Like, I want to make some beautiful eyewear. I'm not passionate about shop shades. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Go to the homepage if you can go, so you can see how beautiful the branding turned out. Like if you go,
I don't know how to get, oh, here.
Okay, yeah, go to John the Builder, click there. Yeah. So you get this video, super fun that we shot.
They're cool. They're like aviator with like, yeah.
They're like his kind of how he wears them. This isn't the landing page for this that we drive traffic to, but this is good enough. There's a really sexy landing page. I could throw it in the chat. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, throw in the chat. We'll include it.
Yeah. Shop.
Yeah, I just want people to see a little example of because you're throwing so many bombs out. I want them to see what does that translate into in an actual.
Yeah, I want you to see how sexy the branding is, and like the videos. I'll show a couple brands that we just launched. I would say this year, but it's 2024. I forget. So last year I did probably 4 different brands, $1 million brands that we launched. This is one of them. So look how beautiful.
Yeah, they're great. Look at that.
If you know John, that's like his custom glass, you know, and you've got to watch the video. I mean, we sold thousands of units and we don't even have the product. It's not even on Amazon yet. But when it goes to Amazon, the halo sales, I love every brand I work with. Like if you go type in on Helium 10 or whatever tool you use, you can see our brand get searched for thousands of times per month. That's how you know you have a brand. I tell you, when you have 10,000 searches a month, and you don't even have to have 10,000, but that's my threshold. That's pretty great. You know what I mean? But I mean, we've got 30, 40, 50,000 searches a month for products, you know, and that's awesome because we know how to generate demand off Amazon, and that halo sales on demand on Amazon, that's the kind of position I want to be on, because guess what? Those defensive clicks are so much cheaper than trying to have to go after a keyword and somebody's coming to buy me. And then I know how to generate, awareness through our influencers, our TikTok ads, Meta, YouTube. I'll take that all day long. Then
And
just
ecosystem. Notices it. They're like, wow, this listing is getting external traffic. Wow, I think we're going to rank this listing because it is bringing people to Amazon.
Totally. Yeah. And then I'm not going to lie. I ran an agency for 5 years. I did it before I exited and sold and joined Nutraceutical, and I grew their business to 100 million on Amazon. And I was directly responsible for that channel.
Yeah.
I also did Walmart and all that jazz too. But, so I taught Amazon listing optimization. I was probably the first one in the industry teaching all that. I taught the image storyboard strategy, the video pack, all that stuff. So yeah, I build agencies for companies now. I go in-house, I help them build out their Amazon team, teach them how they can grow and scale Amazon. So that's why I'm often asked to come speak at the conferences in Amazon, but it's probably my unique approach to building a brand. It's never like I begin on Amazon. I just know how to run Amazon. I know how to make a high converting detail page. And honestly, when I build my Shopify sites, it's like I tell my coders, I'm like, the product detail page should not stray from what Amazon's look like. They spend millions of dollars every year beta testing a high converting detail page. Make your Shopify detail page look like that, except for all the eye candy taking you to your competitors. You get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
And you've got a kick-ass product detail page that's going to convert like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember why I was telling you that. Oh yeah. So like I have like a course now. I have a course that I never really made it to sell, but I made it for all these different consulting companies I go and consult for. They always want me to train their teams. And I'm like, man, I'm just going to video record myself teaching all this. And then I'll just give that to them as part of the consulting. That'll be like, take this, take that. So I just did a conference the other day and they were like, I want access to that. And so I'm like, okay, fine. So I did make it so people can buy it. And I was selling it for $50. And I had this old landing page where it was listed for $500, and people were going to the old one and buying the $500 course, which I thought was hilarious because they could have got it for $50. You know what I mean? So I was like, I totally underpriced my course, obviously.
Well, you got to drop your link here because people are going to want to sign up.
Yeah.
So
should I do the $500?
Yeah, do the 500 one. Yeah,
I'll give
the
them
best.
But that's that's what I'm
out.
trying to tell you with price.
Yeah.
That it's so subjective. Like what somebody else thinks expensive, somebody else thinks is a killer deal. And when I told people that they had paid $500 and some had only paid $50, not one person who paid the $500 asked me for a refund. And I didn't offer it to them. But I was just like, that shows you that when you make something that I have so many people are like, we can't charge that much. And I'm like, you don't believe that your product adds that much value? I'm not one to say up your prices just to up your prices because you can. But there's this idea price objections happen when somebody doesn't, there's a discrepancy between what they believe the value is and that price.
That's right.
So that's on you. If you can't sell your product for $500, then you haven't laid out enough value to that consumer to say that's worth $500. So sure, lower your price or figure out how you can convey $500 worth of value so that it's a no-brainer for them to open up their wallet and buy from you.
Yeah.
So, and that's one thing I hate about Amazon is it is a price-driven platform. If you're just competing on Amazon, it is designed to reward low prices. I mean, that's what Bezos originally wanted, to create this flywheel effect. And that's why he courts the manufacturers to come directly and sell, because he knows that having the lowest prices will bring the buyers, and then have all of us all fighting over pennies. I'm sorry, I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to fight you over a penny.
So what do you think about Temu? I mean, this must be the arch nemesis for building a brand, Temu.
Yeah, I don't even care about those places. Sure, if I want to go list my products over there, but I'm building a brand. I'm working directly. Nothing's going to get between me and my consumer. I'm going to use your platforms. I use you, Amazon. I use you just like I would use the State Fair if I had a hot dog stand. I would go to the State Fair and set out my hot dog stand. That would be the smart thing to do besides going out at the end of my cul-de-sac and setting up my hot dog stand. So thank you for building this platform that I can come on and hawk my wares, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're getting booth space. That's it.
Yeah,
they're giving you a 10 by 10.
$39.99 a month. Thank you. I'll take it. It'd be dumb not to.
Wow. Go ahead, Drew.
It's a lot. And it all makes sense, Janelle. Hearing you talk about it, it all makes sense. I'm what's rolling around in the back of my head is like, where do one of these 7.5-figure kind of Amazon sellers go with this, right? Like, how do they start this process? They got a catalog, but they haven't taken your approach. They took the, I'm obviously oversimplifying, but they took a different approach. Like what do you recommend? Like, for you, I feel like you've got the experience, you've got different types, you got different levels of resources that other sellers just don't have, right? But it doesn't mean that they can't do it.
No, and they absolutely can do it. They can look at their catalog right now and be like, is any of this make sense? You know what I mean? It's like someone who's just died in your family and you're like at their house going through all their stuff. And it's like, okay, like gather up all the fishing gear and put that in a corner and gather up all of the hunting stuff or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, let's start categorizing. And is there something that you're more passionate about that you could build a brand around? Like, what could you sell? Because that's why I ask these sellers, maybe there is no exit plan. When I build a brand, I do ask the people I partner with, like, are we building this to sell, or are we building this like for generational family wealth? Like, I've had people that said, I never want to sell my golden goose because I just got to go get another one. It's going to lay me golden eggs for forever. And I got people that are like, man, the payday comes when we exit. Like, I'm 3 to 5 years and we're out. That, doesn't really change how I build a brand, except for if the influencer is involved, I say, look, if we don't build this correctly and your plan is to exit in 3 to 5 years, you're not going to exit in 3 to 5 years if we make your face as important to this brand as, the product itself. So we've got to plan that part with a celebrity or an influencer that's behind the brand. But other than that, we're still building the brand the same way. I'm doing one right now with 2 celebrities, and our plan is a 3 to 5 year exit. So right from the get-go, we're bringing in what I'd say an army of influencers, and these 2 will be the launch story, but we're integrating all of these other athletes into it as we tell the story. And then these 2 will not have to stick around as part of the buyout. They can come and go when I go. And they don't have to be driving all of it all the time. They're already famous. They're already busy, but they want to, this is their baby, but we know that's the plan. I got another brand that was like, I'm not selling this. It's going to go to my children. There's no plan to sell. And so we can write on his value, his face, his name, all we want. There's no plan to exit. So that, I don't remember what the question was, but that's how I look at that strategically. Let's have the exit conversation. I guess you say begin with the end in mind. I don't think a lot of people do that. And when they started this Amazon course, you were saying like, maybe how do we help someone who kind of finds themselves in a smorgasbord or, not really having a brand? It's like, well, let's start with what's the goal? I would start with the same way I would have started with anyone. Do you want to keep running the business like this? Maybe it's fine. Maybe you're doing $10 million in sales and you have $1 million profit at the end of the year, and you can keep up on this strategy of looking for products that are trending and keywords and ranking it, and you enjoy that process. I'm not going to tell you to quit doing that. It's not how I like to do it. And it's not really sellable. I don't know any aggregators anymore who want to buy stuff like that. They already learned that was crappy. They all went bust, right? That did stuff like that.
They basically didn't buy proper brands. They bought products.
Yeah. And they realized, oh shit, this is not, oh wow, we're not smart, right? So
well, the thesis was like buy a whole bunch of these, create some shared services internally, and we'll be able to scale we'll put some best practices and we're gonna win. And that did not work.
No, and someone who came from and consults for the aggregators, I always make jokes. I'm like, oh, this is where you go to kill a brand, like an aggregator. Give them your brand and they will kill it. Because the passion of the founder is like squeezed out in a corporate. Yeah. And so when the founder's there and they're involved and like they're obsessing about the customer and the experience and the service, like when you then hand it over to this corporate entity, and maybe I shouldn't say we've all worked corporate. I spent 5 years in golden handcuffs, and I'll tell you, I'll never go back. Like, there's no amount of money you can pay me to sell my soul to work in such a wretched environment. Like, an entrepreneur, it just crushes the soul out of your life. But like, I learned a lot, and what I did learn is that there's so much bureaucracy, red tape. Like, there's this innovative spirit. It's just not there in a big corporate machine, these ones that buy them up, and then they talk about, let's have a big old firm come in and give us bids on websites that end up costing $100,000 that I could have my team, build for $5,000, you know, or they do these big expensive consumer surveys that are hilarious, that you're paying these big brand, like we're going to pay $120,000 to have X, Y, and Z come in and ask all these consumer stuff. I'm like, dude, you could have done that in 10 minutes on Amazon by, you know, sucking out the reviews and loading them into ChatGPT and having it do a summary for you. You know, it's just like, it's this old way of doing business that is changing, but still there's a lot of like, it's almost like you gotta wait for the old generation to die. Like they still think that you have to have a meeting for everything and you need to come into the office. And I'm like, wow, I can't even like
brainstorming. Yeah. Brainstorming is more like mind numbing.
Totally. I can't do it. Like, and then they'll be like, can we get a meeting for next week? I'm like, what for? Well, I had some questions about, and I'm like, you just told me your questions. Let me shoot you over a voice memo about it or a Loom.
Totally.
Like there's no need for a meeting for this.
Yeah. Our meetings in Bullseye, I think Drew and I don't have a meeting longer than 20-25 minutes.
We educate sellers on how to communicate efficiently. Like we literally, they're like, hey, how do you talk? And we're like, look, we will use Slack. We will use Loom videos. We are not trying to keep you away. Yeah. If you want a meeting, great. But like we can work asynchronously very effectively. If you load over the questions, I'll put a presentation, I'll do screen sharing, I can give you context, and you can consume a very complicated answer to your question in 5 minutes, and we never had to meet. And I can do it at my time and you can do it on yours.
Oh, I love you guys. Yeah, I can't even, and that's why I can't work with most companies anymore, because they'll be like, well, we have our stand-up meeting on Fridays at this time, and I'll be like, and I won't be there. You know, and I set up right up front, when you want consulting from me, I will not be in meetings. I'll write it into the contract. There will be no meetings. I'll maybe do one kickoff call, you know, if the board wants to meet me or whatever, but I'm like, I'll send you Looms and you can be unlimited, that you can ask me questions, because I live my life and my work fits around it. Like I'm going to be at pickleball. I'm not going to like set a meeting with you. Like even today, I'm like, when someone wants me to come on a podcast interview, I'm like, oh crap, that's like a month out. What if I want to be skiing that day at that time? Like, right. I don't.
Well, check this out. Like, this is a real story, but like I'll consume a video from somebody on my team and I'll be in the restroom. What a good use of my time. I really mean that. Yeah. Right. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm noodling on that. I'm thinking on it. I've got a little bit of time to kind of prepare my response. It's much more thoughtful. It's more in depth. Mm-hmm. Then when I present, it's also much more succinct. So not only have I given you a better answer, I've used less of your time to do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like for verbal processors that need to like have someone hear them verbally process. I'm a verbal processor. Like I can talk to you and be like, I'll come to realizations, but I'm like, why don't I do that while I'm running, you know, or something, so that I don't waste someone else's time. Like it's a very, I think, immature thing to do, to make someone sit there and listen to you like mentally masturbate while, you know, have other things to do.
And multiply it by 6 people in the room that are making, you know, $80 to $150 an hour. Yeah. You know, and you spent literally $1,000 just talking.
Yeah. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, you little entrepreneurs can like, just think of yourself like in kayaks. You're so nimble. You can innovate. You can get shiz done with these corporate like behemoths in these you know, like big old cargo ships that can't even turn, you know, in the fraction of a time. And so I love being the nimble. And we live in such an exciting time where these tools and I mean, the workforce, the people that I'm able to recruit to build my team, like my assistants and my I would say virtual assistants, but I call them, you know, I think that like to call them a virtual assistant, they're teammates.
It kind of does them, you know?
Yeah. And they're like, they're freaking rock stars. You know what I mean?
I know. I hate VA. It sounds like you picked them up at Home Depot to help you move. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And I'm like, they got skills. Like these people, like they got like PhDs, you know, working for me, or they're like engineers. Yeah. And I'm like, you mean you're literally $8 an hour? Like, do you realize like you're kicking ass and taking names, and I'd have to pay someone 6 figures who's going to ask me like in an interview anymore, when the first question they ask me is, so how much time off do I get? I'm like, Amazon never closes. There's no time.
Gross.
You get a laptop and you can work anywhere in the world, and I don't micromanage you, and I probably check in with you like once a week. Like you don't ever have any time off, but you never have to do anything you don't want to do. Like it's just like, don't ever ask me that question. You're not a fit.
It's funny. It's like, to me, like the need for these like larger organizations to have in-person meeting, all these things that we're talking about, it's mindset.
Yeah.
You know, like they've never, like we have to build our business like this. If I want to be competitive and I want to have a great service quality, my constraints are no meetings, give me global access to talent so I can get cheap talent. Doesn't mean it's bad talent.
Oh, it's incredible.
And now it's like, okay, we have built a very high efficiency organization around these constraints because we just believed that we could. If your go-to is like, no, I need to have a physical room in order to feel control, to have that process, immediately you'll never even consider it.
Dude, I remember the first day I walked into the corporate and the guy was like, you got to come to the office every day. And I was like, you know, and he's like, butts in seat 9 to 5. And I was like, why? He was like, well, so I can see that people are working. I'm like, why do you got to see that they're working? Like I had ran a multi-million-dollar agency with like 23 employees, and not once, we all never had an office building, and not once had I ever thought to myself, are they working? I didn't give a shit. Their work got done. Like the task was this, and it was done. Like I don't have to see them working. Like I was like, I'm not made for, like, I can't even fathom that we're having this conversation.
Well, and it's great. We got to wrap, Janelle, but like to put this in this positive spin, I think there's a lot of advantages to the idea that, you know, as these private labelers, like you've got so much more out there, and that just because you think that like they've got all these like crazy resources and all these extra, you have tremendous advantages. The kayak example that you're making, much more nimble. So
yeah,
good.
And also I want to plug in your course. I want to help you get some signups because I want to do your course. Like you're brilliant.
Same.
So
yeah,
we will share it in the notes of the pod. And
cool.
I just want to make sure you email that to me after we're done. Okay.
I'll give you the one that's not $500.
Oh, thank you so much.
Audience, yeah. We'll give them
Why don't you do the $500 one, but discount it $450?
That's what we'll do, because perceived value.
For sure.
Value.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming. And are you going to be in Las Vegas coming up?
Dude, I'm going to be in lots of places coming up. So what's in Vegas? Is it
Prosper? It's the big
Oh, no. I don't go to Prosper. Prosper's like, if you have an agency, maybe it's good. I used to speak there years ago. Yeah. But no, I'll be at $1 Billion Seller Summit. I really love Top Dogs. I've got Seller Velocity.
Okay.
I'm very choosy about where I go. They have to be in a really cool location, and you know.
Well, maybe I'll see you in BDSS. So
okay.
I'd love to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Okay, have a good day, guys. Ciao.